Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Most of you guys that have seen my videos you are not subscribed. Please subscribe. I'm going to get better at this shit and you are not going to miss it, okay? Today we have a very special video. I was looking for interest videos, like I want to watch some serious shit, and I find this Michael Jackson video, so I want to watch it with you and obviously post it to my YouTube channel and also, clip it and shit. So, first of all, I'm going to go to my settings, go to so don't forget to subscribe. All right. So I have this video. I was saving this video for you guys. TNT. TNT. No. Okay, wait, I got this. Oh shit, sorry. Okay, the video that we have today is how
1993.
Oh fuck, how Michael Jackson was turned into a monster. Oh my bro, I think this comes from all the controversy with kids. So I'm going to just like show the video, react to it, and see what really happens, because I don't know. I was a huge fan, but when this happens, like, I was pretty skeptical, I always believed that Michael was innocent, but when you have someone that is so big and so popular, it's too easy to damage them with false news, So I know all these conspiracy theory about Sonny and the head of Sonny, but whatever, man. I believe in God, and if Michael Jackson was an angel, I believe that he's next to Jesus. That sounds awful, but if you believe, like I believe, like he was a good human being. But yeah. Also, my favorite song is Africa. So I don't know. Let's do it from the beginning.
In 1993, after being accused of child...
Oh shit! Sorry. I forgot the headwear. What? The headphones. Oh my god! Every time, bro. I hate these fucking. Sorry. I don't know why. TNT. Oh no. So yeah, guys, don't forget to subscribe. I need you guys. I need you. Please subscribe. You are not going to regret it. I'm telling you. Because I'm upcoming next. All right.
child molestation and becoming the subject of a criminal investigation. Michael, in 1993, after being accused of child molestation.
A child molestation, bro. This was a pretty hard topic. Like, I was in my house when I saw this news, like the news saying this, like Michael Jackson molesting child.
And becoming the subject of a criminal investigation, Michael Jackson publicly declared his innocence with a pain that was impossible to hide.
Don't treat me like a criminal, because I am innocent. I have been forced to submit to a dehumanizing and humiliating examination by the Santa Barbara County Sheriff Department.
Oh yeah, bro. Another thing is, like, bro, police are the worst bullies, bro. They're fucking bullies.
And the Los Angeles Police Department earlier this week. They served a search warrant on me which allowed them to view and photograph my body, including my penis.
What? Is that bro? No, bro. Remember that he was he was the biggest star in the world, not pop star. He was the biggest artist in the mouth of bro. Oh my god, bro.
buttocks, my lower torso, thighs, and any other area that they wanted. They were supposedly looking for any discoloration, spotting, blotches, or other evidence of a skin color disorder called vitiligo, which I have previously spoken about.
Yeah, my sister has vitiligo, and it has it's like a disorder, like on your genetics, like when you suffer from much stress, like sometimes you develop this illness. Yeah.
The warrant also directed me to cooperate in any examination of my body by their physician to determine the condition of my skin, including whether I have vitiligo or any other skin disorder. The warrant further stated that I had no right to refuse the examination or photographs, and if I failed to cooperate with them, they would introduce that refusal at any trial as an indication of my guilt.
Oh my god. This is awful, bro. This is awful. This is like, bro, like you are good one day and then you're in hell. And this happens, I think, right after he said something about the head manager or the CEO or the head of Sony. I don't know. Denny, I don't know his name.
It's the most humiliating ordeal of my life. One that no person should ever have to suffer.
Throughout his career, Michael Jackson faced constant criticism and humiliation, which led to deep insecurities that had been instilled in him since childhood. Although in reality, he never truly had a childhood at all.
And I remember going to the recording studio. There was a park across the street, and I'd see all the children playing, and they'd be rooting and making noise, and I would cry. It'd make me sad that I would have to go and work instead.
Wow. This is hard. Like, yeah.
As a child, Michael had no time for fun. He spent most of his days in the studio under the strict supervision of his father, Joseph.
Bro, his father has a fucking funny face, but he was the fucking devil, bro. Look at this. He looks like a fucking clown. Like, no joke. Like, look at this. Look at his eyebrows, you know.
Jackson, who was determined to push his children towards success in the music industry.
I'm divided in this. Like, okay, if I have children, I want them to be perfect. If I like have a dream with them, I'm going to do like anything that is on my hands to push and be successful with them. But he was torturing them. I think it's a way to educate, like with punishment. But Michael always said that it was terrifying. You know, it was like not a punishment. It's like it was like a fucking. They were beating him up. You know, that's different. So. Like no kid, like no kid has to suffer that, you know.
Joseph's methods were extremely harsh, and it left a lasting impact, one that Michael was never able to fully forgive.
How often would he beat you?
Too much.
Would he only use a belt?
Why do you do this to me?
Michael Jackson was born
I think he had like something like both body dysmorphia as well, you know,
on August 29th,
because all the operations on his face,
1958, into a working-class
surgeries. I meant
family. His mother, Catherine, August 29th, 1958, into a working-class family. His mother, Catherine, was a homemaker who occasionally worked as a sales clerk, while his father, Joseph,
he has a fucking funny face, bro. I want to punch him so hard in the fucking face, bro. And I think they allegedly they like he was abusing his daughter. You know, he was like, you know, So he, bro, I wish he's on like in hell right now. You know, rotting in hell, like burning. Bro, why? Why are you doing that, bro? You are fucking awful, bro. You're the worst human being, bro. But I know that you were strict. That we get strict, but I get the strict part. I had my father was strict, but bro,
Former boxer, worked at a steel plant. There were 10 children in the family, and Michael was the 8th. At some point, his father noticed the musical talent of his children and decided to form a group with them. Joseph was driven by an intense desire for success, and in his children, he saw a way to fulfill his own unrealized dreams of becoming a great musician. At first, only the older brothers performed, but young Michael Jackson joined them at around the age of 5. The group was initially called Jackson Brothers, and later became known as the Jackson 5. They performed in small clubs, cheap venues, and sometimes even strip clubs. Soon, the group began winning vocal talent shows, one after
the Jackson 5 is a pretty good fucking name. It's a very catchy, very catchy name.
another, largely thanks to Michael. Interestingly, at one of these competitions, their rivals seriously discussed that the Jacksons should be feared because they supposedly had a dwarf lead singer whom they were passing off as a child.
Oh my God.
Their popularity began to go rapidly by the late 1960s.
That's pure talent, bro.
Michael, who was around 10 years old at the time, firmly established himself as the lead vocalist and the main star.
Oh, bro, that vibrato is natural. Like, he's not forcing that. He's like in a flow state singing.
But behind the curtain of success, there was a heavy price that young Michael had to pay. During the first half of the day, he attended school, then spent hours rehearsing, leaving him no time for anything else.
Dear Michael.
Like, that's hard, you know? As a kid, like, you have to go to school, do your homework, and then practice. That's enough. You don't have to punish your little kid, bro. If your kid is doing good like that, like, encourage him to do better, but not by punishment, bro. I know, I get this thing, like, you have to be crazy to be the best. You have to be delusional. You know, you have to crave every time. Like, you have to be a loco, bro. I get that. I get that side. But beating a kid is not the fucking, like, answer, you know? Like, bro, that was his father's frustrations. Because he didn't make anything at all. Like, he wasn't, like, the biggest. He was a regular artist, you know, I believe. But I know the obsession. I know that part. But beating up a kid is not the answer, bro.
From Long Beach, Deanna Carroll, who's 16. What school do you go to? Do you go to a school?
Yeah, I go to private school in the valley.
Do the kids stare at you
Private? What the hell?
because you're so rich and famous? Do they? Do they stare at you? Not because of it.
It's kind of a school like the kids already in the business. Like,
Nice. He's very well spoken, bro. I can notice that. He's like, he has presence. He's so calm, you know. He's responding like with a lot of confidence. But I can see the fear in his eyes a little bit, you know.
There are other singers, dancers, and aerialists, and jugglers, and tumblers, and so on.
And these rehearsals were often brutal, causing Michael to hate his father more and more each time.
And if you miss a step, expect to be,
Just let me go back. You just said that you would practice the dance steps and your father would be holding a belt in his hand. Is that what
Yeah.
you just said?
yes. And he would tear you up if you missed.
How often would he beat you?
Too much.
Would he only use a belt?
Why do you do this to me? No.
I can like understand like why he was still a kid in his mind, like being 43. You know? Because he never grew up. Like he never had a childhood, you know. He never had that. So that's why he was dreaming of being a kid every time. That's why he resembled himself as Peter Pan, you know. He never wanted to grow because he never had that. So I get why he was with children, like having fun. I get it. I know it's weird, but I get it, you know. So everyone says do not trust any adult. Like I get it, but in this special case, it's weird. I know, it's weird. But if Kid said he never did anything to me, kids not lie because you can see in their faces like if something wrong is happening. Like Michael, you know, when his dad was beating him, it was like very noticeable that his dad was doing something wrong. But I have seen the interviews, like from kids that were in the dream in Neverland. They were like chill, like, they were like, bro, we were like in the same like room, like, but Michael's room was 3 stories high, like he was the biggest room. So I don't fucking know, bro.
Oh, more than a belt.
What else would he use to hit you with?
Ironing cords. Whatever's around. Throw you up against the wall as hard as he could.
When he was beating you, did you hate him?
Yeah. Strong hate. That's why to this day I don't lay a finger on my children. I don't want them to ever feel that way about me. Ever. And he didn't allow us to call him Daddy. And I wanted to call him Daddy so bad. He said, I'm not Daddy, I'm Joseph to you, you know?
Michael didn't want to be like his father. He wanted to be like James Brown. There would be many parallels between Jackson's life and career and that of the legendary artist. Brown's music broke all the traditional rules of popular music in the 1950s and 60s. Melody and softness were replaced by rhythm and groove. James Brown was the second most famous performer of his time, second only to Elvis Presley. His stage presence, performance style, and musical approach became major inspirations for Michael.
I couldn't refuse to give this award tonight because nobody has influenced me more than this man right here.
I really love to be a performer, bro. That's pretty good.
1968 became a breakthrough year for the Jackson 5. They were discovered by Motown Records, and after years of hard work, the boys, who had barely experienced childhood, finally began to see what they had been working toward. However, the contract was far from ideal. The label had full control over the group's repertoire, and they were only paid for music that was officially released. They could spend months in the studio without releasing anything and earn nothing in return. But this was the reality for young artists at the time, so the Jacksons didn't complain. For them, it was a chance to become stars. After long struggles and disagreements, they finally released their first single a year later. Then,
Bro, that's a fucking good song.
they released their first album, Diana Ross Presents The Jackson 5. The label created a promotional narrative claiming that Diana Ross had discovered them, which is why the album carried her name. In the years that followed, they released several more successful albums, with some songs climbing high on the charts. However, just as quickly as the Jacksons rose to fame, they began to lose it. Around the same time, in 1971, Joseph Jackson learned that their main competitors, the family group The Osmonds, had released a solo single by one of their members, which significantly boosted the popularity of Donny Osmond. Joseph decided they needed to do the same with their own lead singer, Michael. In 1972, the single Got to Be There was released. That marked the beginning of the solo career of the man at the center of our story. Over the next few years, several solo albums followed. One song in particular stood out and became a major hit. As the Jacksons began earning more from both group and solo projects, Joseph decided to take a closer look at where the money was going. Despite their success, it was clear they were earning very little compared to what they were generating for the label.
Oh my God.
Eventually, Joseph quietly negotiated a more profitable deal with CBS Records. Motown Records was not happy about this, seeing it as a betrayal. After all, they had made the Jacksons famous. But regardless, for the Jackson family, it was a much better opportunity. By this time, Michael Jackson was already widely known. He could no longer walk down the street like a normal child and simply enjoy life. At just 9 years old, he was already performing in strip clubs. And by 15, he had been deliberately introduced to sex with a prostitute, an experience.
What the fuck? I'm not like W that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, bro.
Michael later described as traumatic. There was money, but CBS Records was dissatisfied with their next two albums, which underperformed commercially. The Jacksons asked the label to give them full creative control over their next record. Reluctantly, the label agreed, and it paid off. The album Destiny, released in...
Oh, I like this cover. What? Look at this. Destiny. I know this is handwritten because there were no computers back then, you know. Like, oh my God. This is a pretty good album cover. I want to have this as a poster on my wall, bro. Oh my God, this is pretty good.
1978 became a success. The biggest hit was Blame It on the Boogie.
Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the boogie.
Oh.
Around the same time, Michael suffered a fall on stage and broke his nose. He required surgery, but the initial procedure was unsuccessful.
Oh, I know. Okay, I know now why. Right.
Leaving him with breathing problems. This led to a second rhinoplasty. The surgeon was Stephen Heflin, who would later become Jackson's personal plastic surgeon and perform several more procedures. As you know, this became one of the most discussed topics in the media, although in reality, the number of surgeries was often exaggerated. One of Michael Jackson's biggest insecurities was his nose. His brothers teased him with the nickname Big Nose, even though he had inherited it from his father. Ironically, Joseph Jackson himself denied that the nose came from him, which Michael clearly understood was absurd.
Is it true that your father used to say you had a fat nose?
Yeah.
What did he say? What did he actually say?
God, your nose is big. You didn't get it from me.
Joseph also
That's why he's traumatized about his face now.
Consistently denied ever abusing or mistreating him.
You never physically harmed him?
Never have.
What? You fucking liar, bro. Like, motherfucker, you don't have blood on your face, bro. Like, that kind of fucking hypocrisy, bro, in his face. Never! I never beat him to the death. I'm kidding. Okay, yeah, I know. Bro, what? This is, bro, yeah.
And I raised him just like you would raise your kids, you know.
Yeah, right with the belt, motherfucker. Like, what are you talking about?
No, but harm Michael for what? I have no reason. That's my son. I love him.
See,
I love them.
Yeah, let's get into this beating thing. There's no such thing as beating a kid.
There's no such thing as beating a kid. Like, but you do it every day, what?
You whip them and punish them for something they did, and they will remember that. So they remember in such a way they wouldn't do it again. That's the way I was.
Yeah, I know, but brother, you were like beating them, like no punishment, like no like one fucking like you were doing like, bro, you die, motherfucker.
I wouldn't want to look in the mirror.
Really?
And my father teased me, and I just hated it. I cried every day because of it.
Your father would tease you about your
Yes,
pimples?
he would tell me I'm ugly.
Your father would say
Yes,
that?
he would. Sorry, Joseph.
Yeah.
However, despite all of this, one event would change Michael Jackson's life. He starred in the film The Wiz. The leading role was played by Diana Ross, while Michael played the Scarecrow. The film was a box office failure, but for Michael, that didn't matter, because it was there that he met Quincy Jones, a musician, composer, and producer who would soon have a massive impact on his career. Quincy saw something in the young artist that went beyond just a talented vocalist. After the film, Michael returned to performing with his brothers, but he no longer felt the same connection. He began to realize that his brothers, his father, and even the label were holding him back rather than helping him.
Yeah, bro, if you have a conversation with Quincy Jones, that opens your mind. Like, bro, like him having that kind of potential and gift. Like, I know how Quincy Jones like elevated him. Like, bro, you're such a talented kid. Like, you should do your own shit. You have everything. Like, I'm not saying that you don't need your brothers, but you might be better on your own. I don't know. I think Quincy Jones put like that possibility in his mind. So that's why he got the advice and he listened to the advice.
Secretly, he reached out to Quincy Jones and asked him to help produce a solo album. Although this didn't mean he was leaving the group, his brothers reacted coldly. After all, the group's popularity largely depended on Michael.
Yeah, that's very true. But that was his way. If his father never beat him, I think Michael was never going to leave Jackson's 5, because I know he cares about family. He cares about family. And, you know, if you grow up in a loving family, you are not going to leave your family. But he was being punished. So, okay.
The industry also doubted the collaboration. Quincy Jones was respected, but seen as more traditional, and few believed he could produce a modern R&B album. Soon enough, however, he and Jackson would go on to win multiple Grammy Awards.
Oh my God.
Together, they created the breakthrough album Off the Wall, which achieved massive commercial success.
Oh my God, bro. I remember this album.
On the surface,
I'm not that old, okay? I was born in 97.
Everything looked perfect. A young, energetic performer dominating the charts. But behind the scenes, Michael Jackson was deeply lonely, struggling with acne, insecurities about his appearance, and constantly avoiding journalists, afraid of uncomfortable questions. And he still wanted to break free from the control of his father, who continued to demand complete obedience and refused to accept any resistance.
You're a fucking manipulator, bro. What?
Once again, in secret, Jackson met with attorney John Branca. He told him he had only two goals: to become the biggest star in show business and the richest one. Branca's job was to make that happen, and he did. Branca also secured a deal allowing Michael to leave the family group at any time without penalties, and legally ensured that he would never have to record with his brothers again if he didn't want to.
Oh my God.
What Michael truly wanted was something much simpler: to walk through a park like a normal person.
Nah, that's impossible, bro. You being Michael?
The family group at any time without the lack of freedom weighed on him so heavily that in the early 1980s he developed a strange routine. He would glue on a fake beard, wear an old hat, dress like a homeless man, and wander around Los Angeles unnoticed.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. And that's fun. Like, that's pretty, like...
But it didn't last long. One day, he entered an antique shop, and and the owner assumed he was a thief and called the police. Jackson was terrified. He tried to explain to the officers that he was Michael Jackson. They didn't believe him and took him to the station. After that, he never attempted anything like it again.
Oh my God, bro. The racism, always.
In 1981, Michael once again reached out to Quincy Jones to begin work on a new album, one that would surpass everything he had done before. This decision created tension within the family. His brothers continued releasing music as the Jacksons, but their commercial success was nowhere near the level Michael was already achieving as a solo artist. Quincy assembled a team of top musicians and songwriters around Michael, but unlike the rigid studio system he had experienced at Motown, here he was given far more creative freedom. Quincy didn't see Jackson as just a performer. He treated him as a collaborator and partner. Michael could spend hours debating harmonies, tempos, and vocal delivery.
That's a lot for the game. I'm a producer. I love music, but to be aware of such a detail, like to reharmonize, to go phrase by phrase, that's the old way to make music. Nowadays, people just write and freestyle and do shit like that. Like, so easy, but back then you gotta hear line by line, put harmony on it. Like, it was more difficult, but music was better. That's it.
And his opinion mattered. A new vision began to take shape, to expand the dance-driven sound of Off the Wall, adding a harder edge, elements of rock, and a broader sonic palette. Some songs Michael created from scratch, while others he selected from dozens of demos sent by songwriters. Hundreds of ideas were reviewed and rejected. He had one goal: to create a great album.
Michael Jackson was a producer, bro. He was not just only a performer, he was a producer. Like, producing music is not just like touching the things and make the beat, No, producing is like having the idea, having the concept, and make it real, That's why I consider Michael Jackson one of the biggest producers in the world. He had a vision, he know how to explain it and communicate it by musical language, and that's it, bro.
Michael Jackson wanted his music to be universal, to resonate with children, teenagers, and adults, regardless of race or gender. That vision became Thriller.
Oh my God.
And it wasn't just another breakthrough. It was a cultural explosion. This album made Michael Jackson the biggest artist in the world. Then came the legendary music video Thriller. In it, Michael walks his girlfriend home, only to transform into a zombie and dance alongside creatures rising from the grave. The production cost a record-breaking $500,000, and the impact,
and back then, $500K was a fucking load of money,
was enormous. The video essentially created a new format, the cinematic music short film.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay, they censored the video.
Michael broke down a barrier that had long divided audience by race. The idea of black music versus white music began to fade. There was just music that everyone could enjoy. And one of the key songs that helped shatter that divide was Billie Jean.
Oh.
Billie Jean became the most important song of Michael's career. The inspiration came from letters he received in 1981 from a woman claiming he was the father of one of her twins. Jackson received many such letters and had never even met her, so he ignored the claims. But she kept writing, expressing her love for him and questioning how he could ignore his own flesh and blood. The situation disturbed him so deeply that he began having nightmares. Eventually, Jackson received a package containing a photograph of the woman, a gun, and a letter demanding that he take his own life at a specific time. She claimed she would do the same after killing their child so they could be together in the afterlife.
What?
Later, the Jackson family learned that the woman had been admitted to a psychiatric hospital. The creation of the song itself is just as striking. Michael would often hear melodies in his head and become completely absorbed in them. Once, he was so focused on a musical idea that he didn't notice his car.
As a producer, I don't want to brag, but I can dream with songs. I can dream about songs. And then I can make them. You know? I'm not bragging. Like, when you hear a lot of music, when you have this music, you can do this shit. I'm not Michael Jackson by any chance, bro. But
fire.
It's similar, you know?
Until a passing motorcyclist alerted him. He would also sometimes build melodies using beatboxing. Jackson had disagreements with Quincy Jones over this song, even though Michael was convinced it would be a major hit. According to some sources, Jones considered it too weak for the album, although he later denied this himself. Jones didn't like the demo version of the track and wasn't impressed with the bass line. He also wanted to cut the 29-second intro that Jackson had created. However, Michael insisted that the intro remain. According to Jones, he gave in when Michael said that the music made him want to dance. And when Michael Jackson tells you this is what makes me dance, well, there's nothing left to say.
Bro.
His signature move became the moonwalk, which had originally been invented back in the 1930s and later performed by several dancers. Michael even paid one of them $1,000 to teach him the move.
Wait. It's like, it's pushing and...
Oh, bro, I will be like, oh my God, like if Michael Jackson is teaching me how to do the moonwalk, I would be like, oh, is this really happening? Like, oh my shit.
It's like, it's pushing and...
Oh my God.
His concerts reached a whole new level. The crowd would go completely crazy when Michael appeared on stage. It was during the Motown 25th anniversary special that the image of Michael Jackson we know today was born. The glittering jacket, the sparkling glove, and the moonwalk.
When I did Motown 25 and I did the moonwalk for the first time, I was backstage crying afterwards because I was unhappy.
You cried after Motown 25?
Motown 25. But then as I was walking to the car, there was this little boy, he was like 12, he was a little Jewish kid, and he said, "You're amazing. Who taught you to ever dance like that?" And for the first time, I felt I did a good job because I know children don't lie, and I just felt so good about it.
Yeah, children don't lie, bro.
You felt
I was telling you this earlier. Children don't lie.
Good. You probably wanted to say,
In 1984, Pepsi offered a massive contract. Michael and his brothers were supposed to appear in a commercial and receive a huge amount of money, although the singer himself wasn't very enthusiastic about the offer. He didn't like Pepsi, and he already had enough money, but his managers, including his father, and representatives from the label insisted that it would bring in millions and further strengthen his image. In the end, Michael gave in to the pressure and signed the deal, even though he felt like he shouldn't. It was as if his intuition was warning him not to do it. During the filming of the commercial, a pyrotechnic effect malfunctioned, and Michael's hair caught fire. He was rushed to the hospital with second and third degree burns to his scalp. The incident instantly made headlines around the world. Pepsi issued an apology, promised to cover all medical expenses, and offered Jackson substantial compensation. At first, there were rumors that he would sue Pepsi, but the situation was ultimately resolved peacefully. Michael publicly announced that he donated the entire $1.5 million settlement to burn centers.
Oh my God, bro. Like, I hate Pepsi. I'm a real gangster. I'm an OG, bro.
At the same time, the media claimed that Michael wanted to become white in order to achieve greater success, that he was undergoing skin treatments, bleaching his skin, and so on.
I have a skin disorder that destroys the pigmentation of the skin. It's something that I cannot help, okay? But when people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me.
In reality, Jackson had a rare genetic condition called vitiligo. As the disease progresses, the skin loses melanin, causing white patches to appear. Over time, these patches grow, merge, and eventually the skin becomes extremely pale, almost translucent. Vitiligo can worsen due to stress and certain medications, which is why the condition became more noticeable after the burn incident. Unfortunately, Michael struggled to look at himself in the mirror.
And so when you look in the mirror now and the image that looks back at you, are there days when you say, well, I kind of like this, or I like my hair today, or
I'm never
I think
pleased
I'm
with
pretty
myself.
cute today?
No, I'm pretty cute today. No, I try not to look in the mirror. I really do, because I'm never happy with what I see. So I go on with my work and get it done.
His brothers didn't want to leave Michael on his own and pushed for joint performances, even though he was no longer interested in them, especially because it meant close involvement with his father again, who would be organizing the shows. In the end, Michael agreed, and it turned out to be a mistake, because his father came up with a scheme that, even today, 40 years later, sounds unbelievable. Joseph proposed turning ticket sales for the Victory Tour into a lottery. Months in advance, anyone who wanted a ticket had to send a check by mail. One ticket cost $30, and the more tickets you bought, the higher your chances, with a limit of 4. So you could pay $120 and simply wait for the results. Only about 25% would win, while the rest would be left watching from home at best. Joseph planned to put all the money into the bank and earn a substantial amount of interest from it. Michael was against this scheme, but he couldn't stand up to the family on his own. When the scheme became public, all the accusations were directed at Michael Jackson, not at his father or his brothers. In response, he stated that he had opposed this model from the very beginning, that starting from the third concert, they would change the system, and that he personally would donate all his earnings to charity. At that moment, he promised himself
he always doing the right thing, bro.
That he would never,
when you give out the, I don't know how to
never
say this.
perform with his brothers again. But a few years later, the situation would repeat itself. At the same time, there were numerous legal battles. Different people filed lawsuits claiming that Jackson owed them percentages from previous contracts, or that they had been producers of certain concerts. It was a constant and chaotic flow of money everywhere.
When you have like magic, when you have the fucking honey in your hand, everyone wants to take it from you. Even family.
Michael increasingly realized that he needed a strong lawyer and manager, someone who could filter out accusations and demands. That's when Frank DeLeo joined his team, an experienced manager who would take control of Jackson's affairs for several years. Together, they developed a PR strategy for the tabloids. One day, Michael heard about a hyperbaric chamber, supposedly very beneficial for health. He briefly mentioned it in an interview. The tabloids immediately picked it up and reported that Jackson had already bought one for $200,000. Jackson and DeLeo decided to use this and created an entire story that he was planning to sleep in the chamber and live to 150 years old. He was even photographed inside it, and through various indirect channels, the story was fed to the press. The effect was enormous. In the late 1980s, exactly when the wildest rumors about Jackson began to spread, countless plastic surgeries, skin bleaching, and even stories that he wanted to buy the skeleton of the Elephant Man. At first, he enjoyed these rumors, but soon he grew tired of them because Jackson had become an easy target for the tabloids. People could make up absolutely anything about him, publish it, and someone would believe it, simply because it was Michael Jackson. By the time Bad was released, Michael had slightly changed his image. He began wearing black outfits, belts with buckles, and metal details, creating a more aggressive and edgy style. This also became the last album he worked on with Quincy Jones.
Oof.
In 1991, Dangerous was released. By that time, his dominance in music had started to decline as rock was rising in the industry and new youth idols were emerging. Nevermind overtook Dangerous on the charts, which was, of course, unpleasant for Michael, even though the album still produced major hits. At the time, Michael Jackson was not focused on music at all. The early 1990s were extremely difficult for him. In June 1990, he was hospitalized due to severe chest pain during one of his intense dance rehearsals, which were part of his weekly routine. When he was brought to the hospital, he was holding his chest and looked pale, weak, and seriously ill. Numerous tests were immediately conducted, but everything came back normal. However, experienced doctors understood that it wasn't a physical condition, it was a panic attack. After leaving the hospital, Jackson once again decided to completely restructure his affairs, firing his main manager. He did the same with his lawyer, John Branca, who had spent years securing highly profitable deals for him. Jackson began producing films about himself, where his friends and acquaintances would talk at length about what an amazing person he was. He also criticized other musicians, claiming they couldn't sing, including Madonna. The only bright moment during that period was his performance at the Super Bowl, which became one of the most iconic in history. It is especially remembered for its powerful finale, where he stood surrounded by children and performed Heal the World. In one of his interviews, Michael said there was something more important to him than music: helping sick and underprivileged children. Every 3 weeks, groups of children with serious illnesses or from difficult backgrounds would come to Neverland Ranch.
Bro.
Because I didn't have it then, I compensate for that.
Really?
I mean, when people wonder why I always have children around, because I find the thing that I never had through them. You know, Disneyland, amusement parks, arcade games.
Bro, he liked to climb trees, bro. Like, he was a child. His inner child was alive. Like, I'm saying, like, that's why I believe him. I'm because, like, children don't lie. Like, you can see the truth in their eyes. Like, that's why I believe Michael.
In the 1980s, Michael met a 12-year-old actor, Emmanuel Lewis. At Michael's mansion, they would play games, pretending to be animals or cowboys, rolling around in the grass like little kids. The story reached its peak when Michael and Emmanuel checked into a luxury hotel, registered as father and son. What exactly happened there is unknown, but shortly after that, they stopped seeing each other. Notably, Emmanuel never made any accusations against Michael Jackson and defended him during all future scandals, even after the artist's death.
You see?
A major scandal erupted in 1993. Dentist and screenwriter Evan Chandler filed a police report claiming that Michael Jackson had molested his 13-year-old son, Jordan Chandler. At the time, Chandler was at the peak of his career and had written a screenplay for a 1993 Robin Hood project. At the same time, a former Jackson employee told a sensational story to newspapers, claiming that Jackson had reached into the underwear of Macaulay Culkin, the star of Home Alone. Culkin himself had visited Neverland multiple times and always denied that Jackson had ever touched him inappropriately. Jackson owned his own estate, Neverland Ranch, where he spent time with children. It featured an amusement park, a zoo, and a movie theater inspired by Peter Pan, a character Michael deeply loved.
Childhood, never growing up, magic, flying, everything I think that children and wonderment and magic, what it's all about. And to me, I just have never, ever grown out of loving that or thinking that is very special.
Do you identify with him?
Totally.
You don't want to grow up?
No, I am Peter Pan.
Oh, you're not your Michael Jackson?
Wow.
I'm Peter Pan in my heart.
Oh my God.
Soon, tabloids began publishing headlines like Peter Pan pedophile, similar accusations. A police search was conducted at the ranch. Detectives interviewed around 30 children, all of whom stated nothing of a sexual nature had occurred. Meanwhile, others continued to spread rumors and damage Jackson's reputation for money. A former security guard claimed that Jackson had asked him to dispose of a photograph of a naked boy. However, he told this story to newspapers, not the police, and was paid $150,000. A former housekeeper, Francia Blanca, claimed that she had to quit out of disgust for allegedly seeing Jackson in the shower with a child.
What the fuck?
She received $20,000 for this statement. However, another maid later testified that Blanca had not quit, but had actually been fired for poor performance 2 years before the alleged incident. When Michael received a Grammy in 1993, he delivered a very emotional speech addressing the accusations. A bold move.
I wasn't aware that the world thought I was so weird and bizarre.
The following year, details of the accusations began to emerge, giving Jackson's lawyers significant arguments. First, it's important to note that Jordan Chandler's parents were divorced. Evan lived separately and was unhappy that his son was spending far more time with Jackson than with him.
Yeah.
Yes. Breaking point came when Evan once saw his son and Jackson lying in the same bed, fully clothed. After that,
Fully clothed, bro.
He took action. First, he cut off all contact between his son and Jackson. Second, he attempted to demand financial compensation from the celebrity.
Always is the financial compensation, bro. He doesn't care about his kid. He wants money. Like, fuck?
Even before going to the police. Chandler called David Schwartz, the new husband of his ex-wife and Jordan's stepfather, and said he was going to destroy Michael Jackson. Schwartz recorded the call in which Chandler claimed he would win big, get everything he wanted, and referred to Jackson as a son of a bitch. However, the person he later referred to in that way was actually private investigator Anthony Pellicano. Pellicano met with Jordan the next day and directly asked him about abuse. The boy initially said that nothing had happened. Chandler did not stop. He contacted a psychiatrist and described a hypothetical situation. Without ever speaking to the boy, the doctor wrote a 2-page letter stating that there were grounds to suspect abuse. The next day, Chandler finally obtained a statement from his son, claiming that Jackson had touched him inappropriately.
What?
However, this statement came shortly after a dental procedure, while the boy was under the influence of medication, meaning he was not fully conscious. After that, Chandler approached lawyers and demanded $20 million. Negotiations failed, and he then went to the police. In late August 1993, a group of detectives arrived at Neverland and conducted a search while Jackson was on tour. No evidence was found. Children who stayed at the ranch stated that nothing inappropriate had occurred. Later, Jordan gave a detailed description of Michael's genitalia. Jackson was then subjected to a humiliating procedure. He was forced to undress in front of prosecutors, lawyers, and doctors. Ultimately, the description did not match.
It was a nightmare. A horrifying nightmare. But if this is what I have to endure to prove my innocence, my complete innocence, so be it. Throughout my life,
So be it. I'm kidding.
I have only tried to help thousands upon thousands of children to live happy lives. It brings tears to my eyes when I see any child who suffers. I am not guilty of these allegations, but if I am guilty of anything, it is of giving all that I have to give to help children all over the world. It is of loving children of all ages and races. It is of gaining sheer joy from seeing children with their innocent and smiling faces. It is of enjoying through them the childhood that I missed myself.
All of this ended in a settlement.
That's a good statement.
With Michael paying $15 million. However, as one juror later said, he had not heard a single substantiated piece of evidence proving Jackson's guilt. Still, a large portion of the public believed he was guilty and trusted what was written in the tabloids. And yet there were many other stories the media could have written about. For example, in 1994 at a hospital in Budapest, Michael Jackson met a young boy named Bela Farkas, who had been born with a severe liver defect and abandoned by his parents. He urgently needed a transplant, and Jackson paid not only for the surgery, but also for the next 10 years of his treatment.
Oh my
The boy
God!
eventually recovered, was adopted, and grew up healthy and happy. Or the story of Daniel Parisi, a boy who was infected with HIV due to a medical error during a blood transfusion. In 1997, before a performance in Milan, Jackson invited the boy and his mother to his dressing room and spent time talking with them. But the most touching moment happened during the concert itself, when during one of his songs, Jackson held the boy in his arms in front of tens of thousands of people. Later, the boy's mother wrote him a letter. "I will never forget what you did for my son. After your meeting, doctors spoke of a miracle, and for several months it felt as if he had never been ill. My child is no longer with us, but I know he is always watching over you from above. He never forgot what you did for him. God bless you." And there were dozens of such stories. Over his lifetime, Michael Jackson donated approximately $300 million to charity.
Oh my, bro. Oh my God. 300. Oh, that's a lot of money, bro. Oh my shit.
Love to do things for children, and I try to imitate Jesus. And I'm not saying I am Jesus. I'm not saying
We're clear on that.
Right. I'm trying to imitate Jesus in the fact that he said to be like children, to love children, to be as pure as children are, and to make yourselves as innocent and see the world through eyes of wonderment and the whole magical quality of it all.
Is that Oprah? Oprah's a fucking devil, bro. What the fuck are we talking about?
And I love that. And we have the children, like we'll have like 100 bald-headed children here who they all have cancer. And they're running around and they're enjoying themselves, and it just makes me cry happy tears that I was able to do that for them.
Most of these acts of kindness Jackson kept hidden from the public, not wanting to draw attention to himself. Because true, heartfelt compassion does not require recognition.
300 million on donations? Personally, I would never do that. But wow, good for him, bro. 300 million, brother. I just want to help my family. That's it, bro. Whoa, that's way beyond, like, whoa. That's a lot of money and that's a lot of love, bro.
This kind, selfless, and compassionate man, who helped thousands of children around the world for decades, ultimately received the label of a pedophile.
I want to set the record straight that if people hear a lie long enough, people believe it, that people have lied on me. I'm a black American and I'm proud of it, and I'm honored of it. The bleach skin rumor, which is a rumor, I don't bleach my skin. They once said I wanted a white kid to play me as a child, which was a rumor. Inauguration rumor, saying I didn't want to do President Clinton's inauguration. I'm not gay.
Yeah, bro. Everyone says, bro. There's some statements from some artists that they say, like, bro, leave your fucking wife with Michael Jackson and you're going to be sure that he's not gay, bro.
And he says, don't judge a person unless you have spoken to them one-on-one, which is true. Because what you hear is a lie, untrue. I can't make out this part there.
It is illegible in portions, that's true.
And Jesus said to love the children and be like children. Be youthful and be innocent and be pure and honorable. He was talking to his apostles, and they were fighting over who's the greatest among themselves. And he said, whoever humbled yourself like this child is the greatest among me. And he always surrounded himself with children. And that's how I was raised, to believe and to be like that and to imitate that.
During the scandal, he married Lisa Marie Presley, daughter of Elvis Presley, but they divorced
That's a legendary fusion, bro.
year and a half later. During their marriage, they were often asked inappropriate questions that clearly irritated Jackson.
We want to know if you've done the thing.
Michael, I know that this is an intimate question, but are you having sex together with Lisa Marie?
Do you guys really love each other, or you're just doing this to satisfy the media?
Are you guys intimate?
Again,
I can't believe
it. This is about the skepticism.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, yeah. Oh my God, yes, yes.
Later, he married again, this time to nurse Debbie Rowe, who had cared for him during his treatment for vitiligo. The couple had 2 children, but divorced in 2000. Later, he had a 3rd child through a surrogate mother. Despite losing endorsement deals, his albums continued to sell well. His songs topped the charts, and thousands attended his concerts. It began to seem as though the scandal had been forgotten. He continued living with his children at Neverland Ranch and actively performing until 2003 when he once again faced allegations of child molestation.
Oh my God, bro! Leave the guy alone, bro. He donated $300 million. He doesn't want to touch kids, bro. If I'm not, bro.
This time, even more serious. It all began when he agreed to let British journalist Martin Bashir film a documentary about his life. Bashir visited Neverland and openly questioned Jackson's behavior, including the idea of sharing a bed with children.
But is that right, Michael?
It's very right. It's very loving. That's what the world needs now. More love, more.
The world needs
more heart.
The world needs a man who's 44 sleeping in a
you're
bed
making
with
it,
children.
No, you're making it all wrong.
Yeah. You're making it all wrong, bro. Like sleeping is sleeping, you know. Like I can sleep like here. I am a kid, like, and my friend can sleep right there. Like that's sleeping, you know. Like everyone on his own.
After the documentary aired, a wave of moral panic erupted. The media began portraying him as a potential threat to children. Once again, articles, scandals, and heated debates flooded the public space, quickly escalating into chaos. Even Eminem decided to mock him in his work. Jackson was deeply hurt by the song and video Just Lose It.
I'm not gonna lie, this is a banger. I didn't know it was for like a diss to Michael, but when I was like 16, 18 years old, I was listening to this. I was blasting this song, bro.
I've never met Mr. Eminem, and I've always admired.
Also, Eminem declared like he never get to apologize to Michael. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. I'm not defending Michael, but I'm just saying. I'm just spitting facts.
And to have him do something like that was pretty painful as an artist to another artist. And it's sad because, well, I think what Stevie Wonder said is true. And I just don't want to say too much more than that. But he should. Be ashamed of himself, what he's doing. Stevie said he's bull. That's what he said.
District Attorney Tom Sneddon, who had been involved in the 1993 case, reopened the investigation. He interviewed Gavin Arvizo, one of the boys featured in the documentary, along with his parents. Gavin was a cancer patient. His father had approached Jackson asking for financial help for treatment. Jackson personally met the boy in the hospital and later invited him to Neverland. This was in 2000, when Gavin was 10 years old. The cancer went into remission, after which Jackson stopped inviting him to the ranch, until reconnecting again shortly before the documentary was filmed. He invited him to his ranch to give an interview for British journalist Martin Bashir. Footage showed them walking together, holding hands. Because of this, the prosecutor focused on him first. During questioning, Gavin claimed that Michael Jackson had molested him and his younger brother.
What?
Offered them wine disguised as soda and publicly masturbated. Moreover, all of this was alleged to have happened after the documentary was released. On April 21st, 2004, Jackson was charged with 6 counts, including conspiracy to abduct children, extortion, false imprisonment, and 7 counts of child molestation. He faced up to 18 years in prison. The situation almost perfectly mirrored the events of 1993. The accusations were largely supported by former Jackson employees, who first sold their stories to tabloids and then appeared in court, along with
always the word sold. In order to tell the truth, you have to sold. Like it has money involvement. For me, that's weird. If you wanna like do the good, you know, you're gonna do good. You don't charge. You just say it.
with the boy's family. While the former employee's motives were relatively clear, the Gavin Arvizo family was a more complex case. During the trial, it was revealed that years earlier, they had already received $150,000 in compensation from a supermarket chain through deception. Gavin's mother, Janet Arvizo, had claimed she was beaten by a security guard, but it later turned out that the guard was not involved. It was her own husband who had assaulted her. Gavin's younger brother Starr claimed that Jackson had shown them a pornographic magazine. In court, the defense attorney presented the magazine and asked if he had seen it before. The boy confidently said yes, that it was the exact same one. The attorney then pointed out that this would mean Starr could travel through time because the magazine had been published months after the boys had stopped visiting Neverland Ranch. Next, defense witnesses were heard. It was revealed that during Gavin's illness, his father had contacted many celebrities, mostly stand-up comedians, telling them about the family's situation and asking for money. For example, George Lopez initially provided financial support for treatment. However, he later concluded that the father was more interested in money than in his son's health and stopped paying. In response, the father accused Lopez of stealing $300 from his sick child and threatened to go to the police. Lopez called him an extortionist and cut off all contact. Among the witnesses were also teenagers who had lived at Neverland at different times. They continued to insist that no abuse had ever occurred. Macaulay Culkin testified in court and denied claims that Jackson had behaved inappropriately toward him. On June 13, 2005, Jackson was acquitted on all charges. After his death in 2009, FBI files were declassified, stating that the Bureau had found no evidence of criminal behavior by the singer. After the trial, Jackson became reclusive. He closed Neverland and left the United States for Bahrain. It later became clear that the once immensely successful artist had spent most of his fortune and was on the verge of bankruptcy. Jackson released no studio albums, sold off assets, and largely disappeared from public life. In early 2009, he held a press conference, though he appeared visibly exhausted. He announced a new show titled This Is It. It was planned as a series of 40 concerts, and all tickets sold out on the very first day. After years of absence, fans hoped to see the King of Pop return in full glory. And he had to deliver something extraordinary, because this was Michael Jackson. That's what he always did. According to those who worked with him, he wanted the show to be perfect. He pushed himself through intense rehearsals, even at the age of 50, already a demanding age for a dancer.
This is it, and see you in July.
But sadly, in July, we never saw him. Less than 3 weeks before the first concert, on June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson died at his home in Los Angeles from cardiac arrest. The cause was acute intoxication from sedative medications administered by his personal physician, Conrad Murray. If there were any true rumors about him, they concerned his dependence on painkillers. He first began using them after suffering severe burns to his scalp in his youth. He later continued during the 1993 allegations to cope with stress. Over time, Jackson developed a dependency, which he attempted to treat, but the treatment did not have lasting results.
Oh my God.
In the final years of his life, he regularly relied on powerful medications to deal with insomnia and stress. Murray was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced to 4 years in prison. If this were a fairy tale, I would say the king lived happily ever after.
Yes.
But our world is far from a fairy tale, and the king spent much of his life misunderstood, unhappy, and alone. Rest in peace, Michael Jackson.
Rest in peace, Michael Jackson.
In 1993.
Oh, fuck. So, if you got to this part, don't forget to subscribe. Like, literally, subscribe. Please subscribe.